All right, so the early fall is a fun time of year to fish. It can be a little bit stressful because finding the fish, big deal. I'm gonna give you 3 areas to start with when you're fishing in that fall period of time. We've got a couple different things going on. You're trying to find the fish out here in these lakes. Big deal is bait fish in the fall. Everybody knows it, but what does that mean? So I'm gonna give you a couple areas to start with. First and foremost, everybody thinks bait fish, backs of the creeks, backs of the pockets. Yes, that is absolutely the case. So we're in the back of this long pocket here. Water's starting to get a little bit dirty. It's starting to get a little bit flat because it's all silted in. But we're gonna be looking around to see if we can visually see those bait fish that we're looking for. If you see them, see there's one splash right there. There are some bait fish back here for sure, but I'm not seeing a ton. Not seeing a ton. One of the ways you can do that is as you're idling into these places, look on your depth finder, see if you see any of those bait fish as you're idling. They might be further back, they might be all the way back, they might be in the whole creek. And if that's the case, you're probably gonna be in the right areas. Yeah, there's some bait fish here, not loaded. When the whole screen is loaded, that's when you know they're really loaded. But what you're seeing is just there are some bait fish. It is the fall. There's gonna be bait fish starting to move into the pockets and the creek arms. This is okay. This is not loaded. We're looking for loaded. I'm gonna be throwing shallow crankbait. I got a little Spro Baby Fat John right here. I love this bait for the fall, throwing around shallow laydowns like we have here. One of my favorite ways to fish in that early fall period. It's a shallow running crankbait. It's kind of a square bill type bait, but yet it also deflects off of cover very well, and it hunts on its own. That's one of my favorites. The other great search bait is a buzz bait. Got a little spunk shad on the back of here. Buzz bait is another great bait to throw around any kind of shallow cover. Anywhere you see those bait fish flicking around, make that buzz bait go down these kind of bare looking banks, and you might have some absolute explosions happen. Just going down the bank, 50-pound sunline braid. I got a Cashin swim jig rod. You don't want to rod with too much that's too stiff. You don't want a flipping stick, or you don't want a worming rod for throwing a buzz bait. A lot of people talk about losing fish on a buzz bait. The combination is soft rod and braided line. In my opinion, that's the way to go. Some of it could be the actual buzz bait you're fishing, or the bait that's on there that's not having the good hookups. But I see a little bit of bait fish action, but not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. We're just gonna make a few more casts in here, and then we're gonna show you the second type of area that I feel like that you should be looking for in that fall period of time. But man, if they're biting that buzzbait, it's a lot of fun. Okay, so went to the back of the one pocket, wasn't loaded with bait. There were some bait, didn't have any bites. It's a little bit of a, bluebird kind of a day. Early fall, that can be a little bit tough. So my second recommendation on areas to fish are flat pockets with some isolated docks, just like we have right here. We're gonna take the old shaky head and go to work on some of these docks, hopefully. This is, you can see this is the back end of like a little pocket. We're not in the very back end of a creek. We're just in a little pocket off of that creek, that longer creek. So these little shorter pockets, I don't like long expanses of docks. I'm not a huge fan of main river docks in that fall period of time. I think a really, really good place to start are these kind of docks in the backs of these little shorter pockets. I feel like that there's still some bluegill maybe and some brim around. If you got any overhanging limbs or little short bluffs in the back of these pockets as well, that could be a good place to fling that around. But when it gets over, that bluebird sky gets harder. Sometimes they're not as willing to hit topwater. They're not as willing to bite like you'd want them to on a crankbait or something. So these docks can be a really good way. That's just probably my number 2 recommendation. The fall is fishing docks in flat pockets, especially, you know, little pockets that have 1, 2, maybe 3 or 4 docks. That's about it. But as you can see, there's not that many places for them to hide. I mean, this bank is relatively shallow. I'm gonna just, you know, throw this magic worm right up under the dock. The end of this dock's about 6 foot of water. I'm not gonna be so focused on the ends of the docks as I am gonna be the shallower parts of the dock. Anywhere where there's shade, it doesn't take a lot on these shallow pocket docks. I'm telling you, it doesn't take a whole lot of water. You might be able to see everything around it, and you'll have like one little chunk of dock, like right here, like one little chunk of dock that is, you know, a place for a fish to hide. That could be right where that fish is sitting, just right up under the edge of that dock, ready to run out there and snap a bluegill or snap a shad, snap up something. In the fall, you know, on that shaky head, I like a lighter weight, something that you can skip real good, you know, 1/16 ounce to 1/8 ounce. See, there's a little bluegill bite right there. It tells me there might be some bass in these areas. If the bluegill are there, there's not a lot of shad, not a lot of those kind of bait fish. Their next favorite meal is the old bluegill. So you might be on the right track. Bluegill colored worms really, I think, are key this time of year. Blueback Secret, really good this time of year. Green Pumpkin Money, really good in that fall period when you're around these shallow docks trying to find a couple of these old brim eaters still left around. In addition to the old shaky head, I don't mind throwing a little finesse jig, mini flip type jig on these docks as well. Again, targeting those bluegill, the little finesse jig, also really good on the last but not least spot that we're going to be looking in the fall period on these lakes. Make a few more casts on these docks here, and then we'll go check that third type of spot. Okay, last but not least, on this fall hunt that we're on to find these bass, Main River bluffs. Now this is one that I did not figure out early on in my career. It took me a number of years of fishing and fishing and fishing and observing and being in tournaments before I really figured out this fall bluff bite. And really probably the best bait is a finesse jig. Drop shot, okay. Shaky head can be pretty good. That little finesse jig can be absolutely phenomenal. It's really good on, like, you know, the Tennessee River, any of those kind of lakes. But you're going to be, you know, like you see, you got this big bluff right here. You want to look for places where the current comes and touches that bluff. That's going to be good. Any kind of irregularity on that bluff, whether it's a lay down, a little bit of a point, a little bit of an indentation, a drain can be really good in that time of year. It's not the entire bluff can always be good. Sometimes you might find a bluff that's just got them on it. I really think a big part of what's going on is that the backs of the creeks may not have the big majority of shad movement there yet. The bluegill bite may not be, you know, red hot. It may be, you know, kind of lukewarm. You might have a situation where you have more current going on than you even realize in that fall period. Either it's a drawdown or just having to generate current for electricity. That's when those fish, I think, are gonna get really on those bluffs. And you're gonna throw it up towards the bank and just let that jig kind of trickle all the way out. Sometimes there'll be 15 to 20 feet of water. Sometimes they'll be deeper than you even, you know, really realize. But you know, look for those irregularities, look for the bluffs that have current on them. Take that little finesse jig, that mini flip jig, micro jig, something like that. Put a little baby D-bomb on the back, something like that. Drag it around. Once you find the right kind of bluffs, you can start getting a couple bites. Look for more areas similar to that. And remember that current, whether you realize it or not, is a huge factor. That current on these bluffs is a big deal. Not all bluffs are the same. Not all current, you know, hits the bluffs the same. And the other cool part is if you find a bluff and you catch 2 or 3 on one stretch, you can leave it and come back an hour or 2 later, probably catch a few more fish because those fish are gonna set back up on those same places due to that current. So it's not like the backs of the pockets to where it's, you know, those fish are, you know, the only ones out there kind of looking. You know, these fish definitely have a tendency to replace themselves. Again, you're looking for little sweet spots where the current kick, or you know, where you got a point that kicks out like this right here, or you've got some kind of current situation, lay down, something like that, a little something different on those bluffs. That's gonna be the key when you're looking for those fish on these bluffs in the fall. Top water, don't forget about top water on these bluffs as well. Even with the sun, they might be sitting high up in the water column, ready to blast some kind of shad or something like that. So that might be what I switch to next, but try those 3 things. Backs of the creeks 1, shallow flat docks, flat bank docks 2, and then main river bluffs 3. You'll find the fish in the fall somewhere. Just be patient,